Hello, hello, hello. Hi, welcome. I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's happening in the world. As you know, there's a war going on, and I don't understand why it is happening, but it is going on. So, we're going to talk about that tonight. Palestine, and actions and reactions. Palestine, actions and reactions, because there are people who are acting upon what's going on and there are people who are reacting on what's going on. And to me, it don't make sense. It don't make sense because I mean, as you think about it, there are a lot of things that's happened, and people are reacting unjustly. For instance, like when 9/11 came along, when people in the United States were being mistreated, beat up, shot at, killed, just mistreated because of what somebody else did. These are innocent people here in the United States, and they were being mistreated. And like this war over there, people are being mistreated. Landlord went over and messed up a family. A family that was living in his property, killed, what, stabbed him or something. I know a child was involved. You know, for what? These people had nothing to do with what's going on over there, but yet and still he's gonna attack them. It's not right. It is not right for people, the innocent people, to be attacked the way they are. Actions and reactions. We're going to talk about that. And let's talk about the actions and reactions. What if the Native Americans, the Indians as they call them, what if they decided to attack all the Europeans and make them leave this place? What if they did that? What if all the black people decide to attack everybody that's been attacking them? Then what would happen then? World War III or IV? What would happen? But see, they can dish it out, but when it's time to receive the repercussions, who's wrong? Okay, but see, we got to think about that. For every action, there's a reaction, and a lot of people been laying dormant. Okay, black peoples haven't been retaliated. Indians haven't been retaliated, but yet and still, when the Indians were trying to fight for their land, they called them savages. This is their land, their home. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to take their land, kill their people, and you're going to call them savages. That's wrong. That is wrong. And a lot of houses right now that people are on, I bet you didn't know it was land grants. They took the land from the Indians and they gave grants to people for homesteads. They took it from the Indians. What if the Indians decide they want their land back? A lot of people are on land granted property. They don't know it. They don't know. Let them do the research and they'll find out the houses they're sitting on was land granted. Government gave it away. They took it from the Indians, killed them, took their land, and gave it to somebody else. Actions and reactions. What if the Indians did decide to take their land back? What if the black people decide to get revenge for all their ancestors has been killed and all the people who's being killed now and all those people who's being put in jail unjustly? What if they decided to retaliate? Just like these people are unjustly retaliating against innocent people who are here and had nothing to do with what's going on over there. They're being, it's not right. It's not right. They need to think of their consequences. I'm not for or against a war. This thing, because I don't understand. I don't understand why they're doing it, what they're doing anyway. But we're going to go ahead. Before we do that, I got to talk about my book. Now, my book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life, you got to get this book because we're talking about, in this book, we're talking about being good people, decent people, So it's empowering you to be successful, to have the right mind. Okay. So the book is really good, and it will change your mind about a lot of things and make you treat people differently and think about people differently. So you would like to get that book. Power Thoughts, you can get it at AandKProductions.com. AandKProductions.com. Power Thoughts by Sylvia Hayes, or you can just Google the book, Power Thoughts by Sylvia Hayes. It's everywhere. Google, everywhere. Just Google the book and get it, because you would need it. You would benefit from it tremendously. It would enlighten you. Okay. So right now we're going to go ahead and bring on my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drummer. Hi, Reggie. How you doing?
What's up there, Miss Sylvia, and what's up to the good news and primetime TV audience? I definitely encourage everybody to like, share, and subscribe over here to Square Mile Media Atlanta. A lot of content, a lot of great information. This is a powerful topic. We talked about it the other day, and I've got so many phone calls. I got so many people call me. They saw the videos we sent out and everything like that. Man, they excited. This thing affects us all. It affects us all. When you start to look at it, we look at that conflict. Well, it's not a war. It's not a war. It's a one-sided event because even the people on the other side of Palestine, they really don't have a particular army. Okay, you got to have an army, two equal forces to have a war. So it's a conflict. It's a battle. It's an exchange. And this thing's been going on 2,000 years. We went through the historical message. You can go over to the last thing that we did on Sunday, but just an overview. This land, which is today Israel, has been sacred to the Jewish people. And that name Jewish people means a lot to a lot of different people. Okay. So we have to unpackage that. We might do that tonight. But for the last over the thousands of years, over 4,000 years, today the land is also sacred to other people from other religious backgrounds. We got to unpackage how that happened. Somewhere around 1700 before Christ. You got to look at this. Before this, the Jewish patriarch Abraham was promised the land by God. Okay, you got to think about this. This is what he said. This is what God told him. Abraham's descendants became known as the Hebrew people. Okay, and if you understand this story or understand the story of Abraham, he had a wife and he had a concubine. He had a wife and he had a concubine, and those children, one was from the wife and the other one was from the concubine. So we know the story. But over the next 1,000 years, even after the birth, the life, and the resurrection of Jesus the Christ, man, a bunch of folk either captured, ran them out, brought them in, captured, ran them out. So there's a lot going on. People have inhabited that land for over 4,000 years. A whole lot of folk. The Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Muslims, the Byzantines, and then all the way up to the Ottoman Empire. And then we bring it into modern day where the British used to hold on to it. And when they did that exchange in World War I, that's where we are today. Brought it all up to speed where they promised the people that were there, who at that time didn't call themselves Palestine, but those people. And then they promised the Jewish people that were being ostracized from the United States, all the European countries, that they could have a piece of this thing. After World War II, guess what? Israel became a state, and next thing you know, they were in that land, and they've been fighting ever since, but they were fighting before that. And a lot of these folk, again, if you looked at different ones, they look just alike. They look just alike. Mm-hmm. The only thing is their mindset, their ideology, and whatnot. Even when we look at what's been happening, and we personally, I condone violence. Even though I was in the military, I was a conscientious objector. I wanted to play in the band. But anyway, I ended up, looking at the other direction, and I was in a position where I wouldn't fire a shot on the enemy. But the thing is, and this is something we have to really make clear, understand, or understand, This is a very complex, sensitive topic. Okay. As African American people here in America, we see or we share a sympathetic, uh, with anybody that's being persecuted. We side with the the the, the David when it come down to Goliath. And this has been a situation that we've been in for a long time, whether it's apartheid or dealing with the Palestine people, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, uh, all of them had a very soft spot for the Palestine people. Okay, so this is deep within our community, and you don't have to go along or be along with the government. A lot of times we oppose some of the ideas of this government. We understand what they do, but that don't mean we are really down with what they're doing. So even over in Palestine, you got Israel people, Israelis that are not down with what the government are doing. You got Palestine people that are not down with Hamas and what they're doing. And then we realize that some of these agencies are funded by whether it be America or Israel, And once we're gonna dig deeper, but we got some guests and they're gonna share some perspectives. But I just wanted to throw that in there. And I think we can have an open dialogue, open conversation from a very various point of view.
Okay. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What's up, family? Man, it's good to see some brothers, man. Off the record, it's always good to hear what the black man's got to say about a particular situation. Okay, other than who's gonna win the Super Bowl or who they gonna pick in the draft. Okay, but it's good to see you, brothers, man. Thank you.
Good to be on board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead. I was about to say, go ahead, Hobby.
Well, Hobby, before you do that, let you guys introduce yourself. Just come around the corner real quick, starting with you. Tell them who you are, what you do, and why this situation is relevant to you.
Okay, my name is Habib Awani. I've been dealing with the Palestine question for the last 34, 40 years. Ever since it was brought up to America in the 1980, along with apartheid in South Africa. And you got to know the history before you can say anything about the present condition. America and the world have a great tool called propaganda. And that's what America been dealing with, propaganda about what's going on in Palestine and Israel. So I'm going to let the other people introduce themselves. I ain't going to take up the mic. But when I do, I'll point out some information because we depend too much on propaganda without learning the facts. If you learn the facts, then you wouldn't be spreading propaganda like COVID. People spreading COVID, that will give you to kids. They have all kinds of disease. Propaganda. So what's going on in Israel and Palestine is nothing but propaganda and land grab. Okay, I've got to point that out, land grab.
Well, thank you there, Brother Hobby.
All right, so
Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
No, let the other brother go. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, brother. My name is Brother Kabilan, and before I go any further, I just want to say that the views and opinions that I expressed on your broadcast are observations that I've made over time and do not reflect any organization, either secular or religious, that I might be affiliated with. I need to say that as a disclaimer so it don't be attached to nobody else, but these are my observations. As myself, as Brother Al-Kabilan, which I will be going by as I do this broadcast with you good people, is I am what I would call a cultural anthropologist. And essentially, I check out various things that are going on a cultural, social, and a global level as it pertains and as it impacts African heritage people and our role in the world, and as we interact with others, and how that does, with a specific emphasis on the Africans here and Americans, or the Black folk here in this land, in terms of our contributions and our impact on the world. And this situation in Palestine certainly parallels and reflects many things that we've experienced. And so I'm going to share my insights on that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I'm Eric Morton, and I just want to say, you know, I'm somebody here in the community that tries to keep my ear and pulse on the tone of what's going around, and just be informed and be aware that things happening around the world and happening to us can affect us in a lot of ways. And I'm just, you know, been looking at things from a lot of different angles, but also understanding that everything is not always one way the way it seems. And then when people make claims about things, they still want to ask for more questions, but you still got to look at the facts of what's ahead and what's in front of you, because so many things in our community that affect us, even though we may not know that it affects us, we've got to keep our ear and pulse to it. So I try to keep myself plugged into the community, what's going on in our politics, because these things do affect us. We may not think they do, but wait till you go down into the voting box and you find out that they got certain bills and things intertwined in all of these different things that they're passing that's going on. So I'm here as somebody in the community. I've been a part, like I said, with knowing Drummer through his dad's on duty. And my background is filmmaking. Matter of fact, I'm working on a movie project now, and Israel is definitely a part of it. That's why I've been doing research, finding out more about what's going on. So I'm like everybody else. Let's get the information that we've got, share some things that we've got. And I'm strictly somebody here looking at it from a point of, I need to know what's going on in the community, because these things can and will affect us. So let's get started.
Thank you, brothers. Definitely, you know, anytime I can get some brothers knowledge, you know, we like to ask questions, and we like to get a black male's perspective. Just a tempo. We'll see a lot of different people's perspective, and even tonight we might agree or we might disagree on some of our comments or whatever, but we have to put it out there so that as a people we can share information, put our feelings out there, and then make it available to others in the community. Because when you go to your job, the barbershop, the hair salon, these conversations are going to come up, okay? And we have to see how we feel about it. So thank you. Any questions that you want to lead with there, Miss Sylvia, or anything?
No questions at this moment. How do you guys feel about what's going on in Palestine?
Okay, can I
All
speak?
right.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, you told me I could speak, right?
Yes.
Okay. When you push somebody back to the corner, you expect them to either accept being pushed back to the corner or they're going to fight. And that's what was happening in Palestine for the last 5 to 6 years. Palestine was being pushed to the corner, pushed in the back, kept on pushing. I heard somebody said, another broadcast, that, well, Palestine brought that on, Hamas brought that on themselves. But after Hamas and Palestine and the Palestine Front complained to Israel for over a year about land grabbing, they did nothing about it. And then you have Donald Trump that came in office that kind of pushed the Israeli more towards the right. When Donald Trump made Jerusalem the headquarters for the embassy, when they was told a long time ago, Jerusalem will stay neutral for all religion. The Prophet Muhammad has stated that when they gave back the land back to the original people, when they took the land back from the Roman, and Prophet Muhammad knew the Judaism, the Christian, the Muslim, all look at Jerusalem as a sacred place for all people. When Donald Trump took that away from them, that's disrespect. And he helped create this problem. You don't hear about the last few years and months about Israeli settlement going into Palestine towns and terrorize them. You don't hear about the Israeli attacking Christian at the holy sites a couple of months ago. So there was a lot of hostility, but you keep on backing people up. Yeah, you make a sacrifice. I'm a Native American. I am not black, but I'm Native American, and I'm Muslim. And I know exactly how it felt being back to the corner. Our people, sacrificed millions of people to fight for this land, to try to keep this land. But the propaganda went against us. I hear people say, well, why would they start a war when they don't have the same ammunition as the Israeli? The ammunition is not weapon, it's in the heart. You got to feel it. Why do slaves kept on running away? Because they want freedom. It was in their heart. Why did Rosa Parks sat on the bus and refused? It was in her heart to make changes. And sometimes sacrifice is the worst form. The Palestinians are being sacrificed, but it was all, if you look at Israel and the bombing that they're doing, it's undiscriminatory. Today, 45 children was killed with a bombing that Israel did. They want to flatten that land so they can move those people out of that West Bank and Gaza so they can expand Israel. And you have Israel, you have Jewish. Now, I live among Jewish people. Some of my friends were Jewish friends. There was, in high school, I was getting beat up, and it was a Jewish friend that came jumping in and protected me. I don't hate Jewish people. I love Jewish people. I like Hindu people. I like Buddhist people. I love all people. But I hate the hate in some people. And let's look at America and the Jews. Last couple of years, synagogues and Jewish people have been attacked in America. You read about all the time. It's not done by the Arabs. It's not done by the Palestinians, but it's done by white supremacists that attack them. They're the one that go around in the neighborhood and say, hate the Jews. Get the Jews out of your neighborhood. It's that never been black. Now, as a person, let me give you one personal story. I'll make it quick. June 9/11, I was in D.C. when the Pentagon was bombed. June 9/11, radical bombed New York City. They blew up the building. I used to work down the block from the World Trade Center. I came back to Atlanta and opened up a food court. I had a venue on North Avenue by the train station. For 4 days straight, because I wear the kufi, white people come up to me and curse me out like I flew the airplane.
Wow.
White people came up to me and spit on me and said, you need to go back to your country. It's the same type of spitting I got when I was working in the 60s against white supremacy. It's the same type of hate. Hate like division. Joe Biden made a decision a couple weekdays ago in support of Israel. And then last Saturday, thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the United States call on the Palestinians and support the Palestinians. He made a choice talking too soon before he get all the facts. Propaganda is a dangerous part of America.
Hold that thought. That's a good thought there. You know, so much of misinformation. Sometimes two things can be true at the same time. Depends on how you look at it. I know we got some more brothers, but thank you there, Brother Hobby, on your perspective and just sharing that information. Brother Alabulan, what do you got to say?
Yeah.
What say you? Yes, sir. What's
Hey,
up?
I appreciate that, Brother Drummer. First of all, I just want to say that the points that Brother Hawani stated in his opening salvo were very right on point in terms of bringing out the aspects of the hate and also bringing out the aspects that, you know, we cannot just group all folk into a single type of group of thought without knowing the details and understanding. I'm very, very, very in line with that thought. That being said, I'm going to make a statement that, you know, probably going to be controversial to a lot of people, which is why I made my disavowal before I made my presence in terms of my observation of this thing. What's going on in Palestine, the area that was taken up and that people in 1947 carved off and called the state of Israel, that was facilitated by the British government, I might add, who aided in terms of abetting this thing, is essentially, as Brother Hawani stated, a move for power and expansion by the Israeli government, not the Israeli people or the folks who are in that place who are there, because it's not really broadcast over on this side, but there are actually demonstrations in Israel that are against what the so-called premier Netanyahu or Yehu, whatever you want to call him, is doing. Those people who are the people over there are protesting and are just angry about what's happening, because if you take into account a lot of the folks who come from this thing and who align themselves with this thought of the Israeli state were folks who were survivors of the Holocaust during World War II. That's number one. Number two, the actions that the government represented by this Netanyahu character are basically acting in a fascist manner that is reminiscent of the very people who executed so many of their people in World War II, the Nazis. So what you have right now is a Nazi Israeli type of operation that is on a genocidal path. So it's not even about a war, it's about genocide as an excuse for land expansion, not just in terms of the Gaza, the White Strip, the West Bank Strip, but also expanding into Egypt and other places. The Arab states over there understand that, and they're saying, you know, we're just going to deal with this just so much, and then we're going to retaliate in a way. So that's the reality. Now, I'm saying this, not taking any sides one way or another, but I'm stating facts based on my observations and analysis. If you look how that thing goes down, and you look at Israel as the type of state that it is, Israel probably has the most advanced intelligence agency on the planet, outdoing the CIA, the NSA, and all like that. So for these Hamas people to be able to even do the act that they said is totally crazy and illogical, because of the fact that Israelis got spies everywhere. So they should have had forewarning about it. So the only way that went down is that it was allowed to go down to make an excuse to attack those people, because they've been trying to run those people out of the West Bank and Gaza for decades, okay? And one of the things they want to do is eliminate. It's like Machiavelli's blueprint for taking over a country goes. You want to get rid of a people and bring in a new population, you eliminate the population that's there, and that's what this move is about, a power move and a genocidal move to eliminate the Palestinian people, who, by the way, before the British annexed and made Palestine the state of Israel in that 47 Zionist Accord, people who were Palestinian and Israeli were, or so-called Jewish, as they call these people Jews, were basically living in peace before that went down for decades, for centuries even, before that thing came in with the creation of Israel, which is now, by even international law, essentially, and I'm not saying it, you just read international law to say it, but I'm stating it for the record. They are acting as a criminal rogue international state in terms of what they're doing to those people over there. And I'll hold myself to allow Brother Morton to say what he has to say with that. Thank you.
Well, let's look at it and go by what's actually happened. The information that's out there and what's factually happening is you had a group that the Palestinian people voted back in 2006 that took over in 2007 that has been running the Palestinian state since then. They won't even allow no more election. They haven't had another election since. Now let's understand what happened. On October the 7th, there was an attack on innocent people, babies, people at a concert, families, people burned, people shot in their cars. And this Hamas group that was representing the Palestinian people did this. They murdered babies. They murdered families. They just released hostages, an 85 and 79-year-old lady. Now, if they didn't do these things, why did we think that they went to war for land? They went to war for land, and all of these people who were innocent, these families, these babies that were cut, had their heads cut off. These were innocent people. And these men that came in, because it was men that they found. It was men who had body cam footage of what was going on. So this actually was factual stuff. And now we want to say, oh, they want the land, so they're going and genociding. They're doing what it is. When you got people who disregard their own people, who hide their rocket launchers near these mosques, near the schools, near the hospital, cemetery, totally violating, quote, the rule of war, and we want to hold somebody else who retaliates against them. You tell me, how do you kill somebody that comes in and slaughters your family and go hide in a church? You tell me how you do that with it not happening.
Okay, let me just point something out to you, my brother. The fact that you said they cut off baby head, that always was misinformation. There's no picture of any children.
Well, okay. Let me finish. Brother, if you don't believe the atrocities, if you don't believe the atrocities happen.
Yes, I believe the atrocity happened on both sides.
On both sides. But guess what? Guess what? They killed babies. They killed babies. They killed the babies. Explain to me and justify killing babies.
Okay, one at a time.
Killing babies. Explain to me, justify killing babies. Whether they cut their heads off, they murdered these families.
Is propaganda. You know,
they murdered people. That's not propaganda. That's facts.
You want to see what you want to see. You know, the Palestine been losing babies with doing their infrastructure. You understand? Israel control the water, the electric. They won't
20% of it.
They won't let them have
20% of it
in their country.
20%
they
of
won't
it.
let them supply their own self-determination.
Hamas was taking all of the economic things there and using it to build their tunnels, stockpile their rockets, launch these attacks on Israel. This is what they have done. It's been proven. They don't have an Iron Dome for nothing. They got an Iron Dome because people will find
Brother Eric
on them.
Brother Eric, if I might interject something, just in terms of helping to bring some clarity to this, or at least another perspective, I'll say it like that. One of the things that many people don't know about Hamas, and I know you like to talk facts, Brother Eric, and facts are what we should be dealing with, but all you'd have to do is really Google Hamas and the history of Hamas, and you will find out, and on the stuff, and it's on the internet, and it's on all of the quote-unquote sanctioned news things, that Hamas was created by the Israeli state. Okay, that's number one. So in the actions and things that they're doing, they've actually been sanctioned by Israel themselves in terms of doing this stuff. And in line with what the brother Habib said about the propaganda, it is propaganda, because I understand what you're saying and your feelings about them cutting off babies' heads and everything. I get that. And that is a fact that did happen. But the thing is, hold on, brother, hold on. Hear me out. The thing that I'm saying with this, and the thing that correlates with that, is that what better way to get a reaction out of people than to commit a heinous act, record it and everything, and make it so graphic in terms of people seeing it that they automatically respond with the horrific that you should respond with reaction in terms of people chopping off babies' heads and everything. The Israeli state, not Israeli people, but the Israeli state controlled by the guy who's in there right now, who's a Zionist expansionist, this guy Netanyahu and his people, basically they have an agenda where they want to do it. If you'll remember what they did when they had some of their purges before, they killed off a whole bunch of Israeli people who were their opponents, their political opponents who opposed what they were doing. So they literally killed thousands of their own people just because they were opposed ideologically to what they're doing. So this is the government that's in there right now who does this type of thing and sanctions it, okay? So now if you got a government that's in there right now who willingly kill their own people, then what's to stop them from finding a quote unquote group or funding a group like Hamas? Because most of the Palestinian people don't even feel that Hamas represents them. They don't go with that. But they'll throw them out there, have them do something heinous and have them do something crazy. And next thing you know, you've got the situation where people are dying on both sides, innocent people who have nothing to do with the political realities that's happening.
Absolutely.
That's what's going on in that place and the people and the players who are in there.
One more thing. Let me point one more thing. When they had an election in Gaza, the United States government says they will support and give them aid package whoever wins the election in Gaza. Hamas won the election, and the United States pulled out of giving them aid. Okay? They promise whoever wins, they're going to support them with aid, money. And then when Hamas when they saw Hamas won the election, United States pulled out and said, we're not going to give you no aid because you won the election, you're a terrorist, what the Israeli tell them. So you have all these people going against them. You know, you think the Palestine came on, it's because you back up the people. You keep on pushing them back and put the frustration there. Feeding your children in Gaza before that war was terrible. Electric off and on. They couldn't even fish. They got a shoreline. They couldn't even go fishing. So you keep on pushing people back. And same thing with America. Slaves got tired of being slaves and their right being denied. And the civil rights movement took part in the 50s. So it's the same thing being pushed back. How many blacks during the civil rights died, beat up, murdered for their rights here? And all they want is their rights over there. Yeah, you got a million people stuck in one small area. You said, where should they keep the weapon? Look at the region of Gaza. You got a million people. That's like putting a million people in New York into Manhattan. You can't live, you can't breathe because there's so many people there. And see, they've been fighting. You may not hear or you may not do the research. What happened to lead up to this? But this has been going on for several years. I told you the fact about Trump. He is the cause of this. He is the cause of racism in America. He gave people emboldened.
No.
And now,
what ignited this?
The person who run the company in Israel had been indicted a couple of years ago for corruption.
Yeah. Well, let me put this out, fellas. Now, you know, and that's a great point, Javi. Netanyahu is under indictment. Now, he's the prime minister of Israel again. They had kicked him out. Now, when we think about some things, a lot of propaganda. One of the things, and this was going on back in '68 when Malcolm, the brothers from the Panthers, the reason black folks sympathize with Palestine on a lot of different issues because we see some of the same things happening here. Okay? When they give you a particular name, now let's go back to, I think, 1917. And that was during a time period when they came up with the Balfour Declaration. That was a declaration that World War I, you know, and we just getting this stuff unpackaged. But the British, up until probably 1900s, this land, the most peaceful this land had ever been was from 1517 until the 1900s. It was under the control of what they call the Ottoman Empire. You had the Christians, the Arabs, and the Muslims living together. When the British came on board, colonizing them, And what the British told the people in that land, who was mostly Arab, was, hey, you help us get this Ottoman people and conquer them, guess what? We're going to let you stay here. We're going to give you some land. A hoodwink conversation. Then they did the same thing because the so-called, unquote, Jewish people were being ostracized in Europe and in America. Europe, America allowed everybody to come there, but they didn't want to see the Jewish people, okay? And the British people motivated these folk to work together to get them to conquer the Ottoman Empire. And they won. But somewhere after World War II, when the British lost, guess what? They didn't have the power, the means, or the motivation to hold on to that area. And what we call the Jewish people at that time, coming in, after what Hitler had done, the world felt bad. They felt bad. Nobody did nothing, just like today with the people of Palestine. Nobody did nothing for the Jewish people until it was too late, when Hitler had killed about 6-7 million of them, okay? They felt guilty. So then they say, British coming out of there, and the people that were controlling that area at that particular time, they just came in and dropped them in that area. And it's been a problem ever since. Now, fast forward today, it's the same propaganda. When you look at Hamas, there was an organization called the Palestine Liberation Organization. Israel did not like them. Okay, so they set up and funded them in the United States of America, funded an operation. They've done this many times before, CIA, all these folks, and they give them what's necessary to defeat another organization. And that organization that they annihilated was the PLO. And the organization that did it was, guess who? Hamas, which was funded by, guess who? The United States and Israel. Okay,
that's right.
Now, when we think about that, we have to look and unpack this from a broader perspective. The propaganda machine is so powerful.
Now hold on to that thought, Drummer. Now you talk about packaging a whole thing. Now let's go back to how this thing led up. I don't deny that Hamas had these plans in place, but you want to know what ignited the fuse to this? Joe Biden released this money over in Qatar, the same people that's supposed to be negotiating $6 billion, along with we did a hostage swap, if that's what you want to call it, or prisoner swap, along with $6 billion. And then it's interesting, not even a month later, this is ignited. Now, mind you, the $6 billion is being held in an account over in Qatar. The same people negotiating this that Iran had. Now, if this money got to take place, it was sent over there. They use this money to put these plans together in order. What I'm saying is this: Hamas was already planning this as part of it. And if we're saying that America is responsible, Joe Biden sure enough lit the doggone fuse.
Oh yes, no doubt.
No question about that.
Well, once we,
you really can't even say that. Propaganda is terrible. You can't even say that. If Hamas was planning this for the last 3 months, and that money was just released a couple of weeks ago, that had nothing to do with the money. You trying to equate Hamas and Palestine with Iran. That's two separate divisions over there.
Iran is behind. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. You say that, but guess what? It's interesting now that everybody has said Iran is behind Hamas, which is fighting Israel. And guess what? They friends in the north up there, Hezbollah, that's backed by Iran, is also doing that. So what? That's propaganda, or they dropping bombs over there in southern Lebanon for nothing?
Whoa.
No, they're fighting Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran.
The reason why the United States don't go to a military war with Iran, because Iran got enough weapons, Air Force, a Navy, and even some submarine they ain't gonna fight somebody on the same
Well,
ground. They won't go after North Korea because North Korea got the weapons. They won't go after China because China got the weapons. But people in Palestine don't have the same weapon, don't have a tank, don't have an Air Force, don't have a Navy. They got a couple fishing boats.
Yeah. Well, let's put this out there, gentlemen.
Gentlemen. They get lump everything into one person. When the black movement started and they were getting violent, they blamed everything on the black Muslim. The black Muslim corrupting Black America because they were talking about self-determination.
But hold that thought, Brother Hobby.
They talk about Marcus Garvey. What's wrong with Marcus Garvey?
Well, hold that.
He was trying to get to pay people back to Africa, so he was being communist.
Well, hold that thought, brother Hobby.
It's terrible.
Propaganda is a powerful tool. Now, one of the things we have to understand, I want to ask you guys this opinion. One of the things that's different about this situation that's going on right now, okay? You bring up countries like Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. All these people have a perspective, but there's two countries out there that's looking at this situation. They're looking at this situation. The European Union is looking at this situation, and in particular, the particular thing that it brings upon them. Russia is looking at this situation and what it brings upon them. China, let me put this out. China is looking at this thing and what it brings upon them. For the first time in the history since 1945, America is not the primetime player. America is not the primetime player. So what happens, we got to look at over here, how is that going to affect us? How is that going to affect when Russia says, and they did this one time, they did it back in 63 with Kennedy, when Russia said, hey, leave us alone. Okay? If you can do this in Alabama and those little states, don't mess with us about Cuba. Okay? That's the last time Russia had a commentary with America. Now they're saying, hey, if you're going to go in here and intervene in this little situation, that's going to be a big situation in Israel between them and the Palestine, leave Ukraine alone. Okay? China is saying, guess what? If you're going to stick your nose and keep putting your nose in all these affairs, guess what? You need to leave Africa alone because China is trying to get a hold in Africa. So we see this thing from a global perspective. What that does, for the first time in this century, since World War II, there's more of an interest in this. And, people talk about the Armageddon, the war of wars, and people are looking at this little piece of land, this space that people have been fighting for and over for the last 4,000 years as being a turning point of why all the superpowers got to get involved. Because when you start calling countries like Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, all these countries, this becomes a very, very hot spot. So it's very important, and as Black folk in America, it ain't a lot we can do but have a conversation. But there's some things that we can do to excite or motivate our people, congressmen and whatnot. Right now, we don't have a Speaker of the House. I know that doesn't seem like it's important, none of this type of stuff. But all this stuff is happening, and America is sending funds over to Israel. They already sent a check, and then they're making another check. So that's putting people in a position where they're saying to themselves, whoa, what have we got into? And we will be able to come out of this thing because your little brother that's acting up, okay? And and it's not the people of Israel, it's not the people of Palestine, but the country of Israel is setting up and making an apartheid state. This has not been done since South Africa. Okay.
Exactly.
Now,
let me just say one more thing.
Go ahead.
When the Black Israelite, that there's a Black tribe, the Lord's tribe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Try to go to Israel to set up their community.
They won't let them in.
Israel rejected them as true Judaism. So you talk about part of that government is racism. You're right.
Well,
Israel
Absolutely.
company
Hold on a second.
apartheid.
Hold on. Let me tell you what has been happening, and let me tell you what has been happening. There are organizations right now in Israel that are actually bringing the lost tribes from around the world, from Ethiopia, from Ukraine. They are bringing back their Jewish brothers and sisters to the homeland.
That's the people.
Because one thing they will do is that the Jewish people support the people who support their religion and what they believe, and they're bringing their brothers and sisters home back to Israel. So check it out. When you check out the tribes of Israel, the lost tribes of Israel, check it out for yourself. They're bringing them back. So Israel can't be racist if they're bringing their black brothers and sisters back from Ethiopia, along with their Ukrainian brothers, along with their sisters and brothers from the Asian countries as well. They're bringing them back there. That's a fact. That's happening.
Brother Eric, let me just comment on your statement right there, because I think it's definitely pertinent, but I think there needs to be a little bit of expansion on that. And this is the expansion that I'll give. You mentioned the Ethiopians and everything. I'm going to start there. The Falasha Jews who were brought out of Ethiopia to Israel were actually taken there by force when it initially happened and everything. And the reason why they were brought there is because they realized that in terms of this whole claim of Judaism, these people who are occupying the land right now, they really could not legitimately claim it, because the bastion of that was in Ethiopia for more than 2,000 years. So in order for them to consolidate their claim as the Jewish state, they brought them there. But then, and I've talked to people who are Ethiopian, who are Falasha, who said, man, it's ridiculous. They treat us so bad. Once they got us over there and everything, they treat us just like they treat the black people from the U.S. and everything. Now, these are folks that I've talked to directly and have stated that, okay?
Really?
So, yeah, really. So it goes to the racist nature of how their government especially is acting in terms of how they enact their initiatives and the things that they are trying to do over there. Anything that they do in terms of bringing people from either even Ukraine and all like that is strictly to bolster their legitimacy or their perceived legitimacy as the quote unquote legal state of Israel and everything, which unfortunately, the way that it's done historically has been an illegal state. Now, the whole concept of it was trying to have a safe haven for Jewish people, particularly after the events of World War II. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of the people who, out of those 6 million who were killed, there were a lot of people who are Jewish who served in the Nazi army who are in fact part of the Holocaust. So them, including Hitler, who if you do the real research on him, you'll find out he was actually a Jew spouting all that stuff. Okay? So they're actually a traitor to their own people and their own race, and they're willing to sacrifice the bulk of their folk just in order to achieve whatever Zionist designs or things that they have, which have nothing to do with the well-being of the people as a whole. And they stole the wealth of those who were their opponents under the guise of trying to liberate people and everything like that. Matter of fact, if you talk to the Jews who were in the concentration camps, those who were liberated, and many of those camps, particularly Buchenwald and some of those horror places, was actually liberated by troops from the 761st who were black troops, and they thought they were angels when they came in there and tore them walls down and let them out of them concentration camps. But a lot of Jews won't talk about that. But those Jews who were there in those concentration camps, they looked upon the black soldiers who came in there and tore down them concentration camps as angels. All right,
hey, brother Ackle, that's mentioned in a book the Minister Farrakhan has, The Secret Relationship Between Jews and Black People. That's a powerful book. Now, not to just get caught up in the weeds, not to get too deep, but when we think about this propaganda machine that's around the world, America really didn't start supporting, and I think I talked to some of you guys about that, but up when 48, when they got in there, America, they had just dropped the bomb. America was just starting to feel itself. So America really was not involved with Israel at the level that it's involved now.
But
America did not. Well. Let me put this out, brother Hobby. America did not get involved with Israel at that level where they gave them money, all this type of stuff, until 1968 under the Nixon administration. And when the Nixon administration came on board, this became a different type of relationship, and this became a relationship that was moved and motivated by what was going over there in that Gulf. If you ever been through the Suez Canal, I know we talked about it, Eric. You know, I was in there in 1980, 80, 81, and 82. That canal is everything that comes through there. So you say, well, we got to have somebody over there that can oversee these Arab people, because they might go nuts. They might try to block it. They might try to do this. So we got to have a straight way. So that's America's interest into that area.
That's
okay. And by doing that, they have allowed Israel to, and not the people, you know, the original Jewish people that came out of the Holocaust and stuff like that, those folk been dead. Their descendants, was mostly Zionist type people, are looking at what we can do to push these folk all the way into the river, the Red Sea. This is psychotic. This is like push them out there and let's see will they survive crossing over. Go ahead.
Let me just point out one more thing. Vietnam.
Ooh.
Okay, we want to talk about Vietnam.
Let's go there.
France thought they could whip the Vietnam people. The Vietnam people came out with guerrilla warfare, something that the French and American and the British had never dealt before. What did they do? They built tunnels. They stockpiled their weapons in tunnels and fields. And at the outcome of the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese people won. They wasn't going to be taken over by France, United States, or Britain. So when you talk about warfare and the tight knit of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, because there's weapons in the West Bank too. They ain't released those weapons yet. You know, they waiting. They waiting to see what's going to happen. Israel is afraid to go hand-to-hand combat right now with Hamas and the Palestinians, because now the Palestinians did not like Hamas. Okay, that's true. A lot of Palestinians did not like Hamas.
I agree with them.
But with them, Israel killing 5,000 people, baby.
Gentlemen,
to support the Palestinian people.
Y'all know we got to get a part 2, a part 3, whatever. But this is one thing I want you to.
Drummer, you froze.
Yeah, Drummer.
It's Sylvia. I think he's froze.
Okay.
Yeah, Sylvia.
Okay, he's back.
Okay. Yeah. Are you done? Can you hear us now, Reggie?
Yeah. What do you see as the end game? I mean, what do you see in less than a minute?
All right, I'll start off. The end game I see with this entire scenario is this. They're basically using all of these people. We're talking about the major powers. The U.S. is utilizing Israel. China and the Russians in various ways are also trying to gather allies and proxies in order to further the division of the world and specifically consolidate their hold in Africa, because all of the major resources that they all need for a lot of the tech and stuff they created is directly in Africa. And right now there's an awakening in Africa with a lot of the countries there where they want to control their own resources and be able to provide for their people. And that's why you see all of these folk rebelling and kicking those puppet rulers out of France and everything. And now the French are sending warships over to Africa to try and reconsolidate their claims and everything. And even the French Prime Minister, what was his name? Chirac? Yeah, said that basically what's happening there is that the Africans are tired of being exploited and everything. So they're taking their time to go and get their resources and money back and take over their country so that they can benefit their people and not be impoverished when they are sitting on riches beyond riches. The same thing happened in this country in Oklahoma with the Osage Indian Nation, which they got this movie out now called Blood of the River Moon, which really kind of details it well. Yeah. And also it also mentions the horror story that happened with our people in there. It was mentioned as a side note, but it's key and it's major enough what it needs to do. What happened in Tulsa with the Black Wall Street bombing and everything like that. That's another example of folks trying to take away people who built up something, their resources and everything, because they're greedy, they're rapacious, and they're unnecessary in terms of their cruelty and their evil.
Thank you, brother Al-Kabulum. How did they get in touch with you?
Al-Kabulon, my brother, Al-Kabulon.
Al-Kabulon, brother Al-Kabulon. Al-Kabulon, how did they get in touch with you, my brother?
You can get in touch with me at Al-Kabulon Arts, Akachi Arts at gmail.com. You know, it's an art thing that I work with. It's Al-Kabulon.
Peace and blessings, my brother.
Thank you, Brother Drummer, for inviting me to share with these brothers and sisters.
Brothers, thank you. Thank you so much for your perspective, man. I appreciate that. I really appreciate Brother Hobby, though.
Yeah. Well, Brother Eric, tell them how to get in touch with you and whatnot, and you know your position on the end game.
Well, my position on the end game for this, for if we want the war to be over tomorrow, Hamas has got to give up these hostages, lay down their weapons, and decide that they're not going to try to control the Palestinian people anymore in any form, and they're not going to try to wipe Israel off the map. That's the end game. To me, that's the only solution, that they need to stop this war, to stop them bombing and retaliating, because as long as they keep doing their tactics and hiding around all the places where civilians are going to be, civilians are going to get hurt. So first of all, they need to release the hostage, and they need to surrender whatever they're doing out there, and this war be over. And anybody need to get in contact with me, you can email me at elaw, L-A-W, Morton, M-O-R-T-O-N, at gmail.com. elawmorton at gmail.com.
Thank you there, Brother Eric. Brother Hobby, I know you're ready to get in there. What's that end game?
You know, and luckily I didn't smoke a joint before I get him on the air, because I really get emotional. I'm just partly emotional, you know? But I think the Hamas should hold on to their hostages, because that's the only reason why Israel have not attacked Palestine, because Gaza, because they don't want to see dead American, dead Israeli laying on the street from their weapons. The only bargaining tool they get is those hostages. Keep them safe. I believe the hostages should stay safe. And what the Hamas did was outrageous, what they did. But that's the course of war. Always a course of war, you're going to have those casualties. You have it in America, you have it in all type of country. And like the brother says, China is moving. You know, they in South America.
They in Africa.
This way, you know, and this is what America and the Republicans is afraid of. Remember, the Republicans started this mess. They're in a mess, you know, and as long as you have propaganda, because propaganda, you know, when I was a young child, a Native American, all I saw was on black and white TV, the Native American getting shot down by cowboys. That I had low esteem, because all I saw was ugly Native American being shot down by cowboy. The Native American attack a wagon train, and then the cavalry go attack the whole tribe. Even though it was a few Indians that did it, they attacked the whole tribe. Women, children, wounded knee. Look at wounded knee. You know, look at the history. You talking about barbarian. We have a history of barbarianism, you know, and separation. You know, remember the ghettos in New York and Atlanta was created by the white people in America. When you went to Chicago, you black, they send you into a particular neighborhood. They call it redlining. They now face the fact of redlining. So America has its sin. Hamas has its sin. Israel have their sin. And we got to look at the sin. I have sin. Okay? And you got to look at the sin and make changes to it. Hopefully they will end this war without too many more people dying, because it's lopsided. You have 1,400 Israel dead. You have 5,000 Palestinians dead. How is that equal? Yes, war is terrible. We could talk about Vietnam War because a lot of things happened to us brothers. We were sent there. We came back with mental illness. There's going to be a lot of mental illness in Gaza, you know. And see, unlike any other country, when you kill your father, the son got to raise up and kill your enemy. This is a culture there. When you kill your father, your mother, then the son and daughter got to pick up the gun to kill and revenge their killing. That's part of the culture there. So whatever Israel think they doing and wipe out Hamas, you create more of Hamas, more of the Palestine, you know. So the end game never look good, you know. You know, we talk about immigration, and we can't solve the problem with Mexico and immigration. It's hard to resolve. That's the same thing with Palestine and Israel. It's hard to resolve. So
how did they get in touch with you, Brother Hobby?
Talk to God.
You sound like Abraham, brother. Now you know why we in this conflict, brother.
You know,
Everybody done heard from God.
God will let me know somebody want to talk to me.
All right, my brother. Wassalamu alaikum. Peace and power.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Miss Sylvia.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any last one? I'm going to let you close it out tonight. I just want to say, is it propaganda? Is it a hostage takeover? Why is it so many innocent people being killed? Keep your eyes open because the same thing may happen in your backyard. You never
That's for
know.
real, sister.
The same thing might be happening in your backyard. Keep your eyes open and don't think it can't come over here because it will and it can.
Exactly right.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to let you close it out with the closing words.
Okay. Well, I thank everybody for their points of view, their perspective. It's good to have a conversation. I wish it was that easy for the people over in that particular land to have a conversation that we had. I was recently listening to a conversation with people from both sides, and very, it was very touching. It's very emotional. It's very sensitive. I am a person that believes in life, and I would rather people not die, not get killed. But unfortunately, we live in a hellhole called this world, and people rise to power, and people won't stop. I was recently watching a movie, the Killers of the Flower Moon, and it helped me get ready for this conversation because it helped me to realize some things that were a little bit deeper. And also, over the past years, reading Nelson Mandela's book and so much stuff dealing with apartheid or anybody trying to control the actions and efforts of people, especially, when you think about people like us, Black people. And I just say I keep prayers up. I hope that there can be some type of resolution for this particular end game. But I can almost be like Brother Hobby. Only God can solve this situation. Whatever the giver of days, the Most High has got to intervene because this thing has been going down for 4,000 years. Okay? It's hard for us to solve a problem. And then when you throw propaganda in there, and when people understand or understand the weaknesses of people, especially when it comes down to their belief system, they can manipulate people and move and motivate people that are really kin to each other. These are cousins that are over there in a civil war fight, and it's going to affect all of us. So keep your head on the swivel. Continue to pray, fast, meditate. This is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist, and I hope you like, share, and subscribe, and have a conversation with your family. If you can have a conversation, a civil conversation with other people with different points of views, then you can enlighten yourself to a point where you can be aware of some of the atrocities of other people. With that being said, take care. Have a great day. And